Hi. All right, are you guys ready to start our next book? I love this book. You're going to love it too, I guarantee it. I think you're also going to like that it's significantly easier to get through than The Secret Garden. It's much more of a third grade book. The last one was much harder than third grade. So congratulations to you for getting through that. You're gonna love this book. I wrote right in the front of my copy that this is a perfect spring book because it's all about the animals in the spring. And this is just a fun book that kind of helps us look at a different point of view than our own. It's a silly book. Parts of it are real, parts of it are just so silly, and I think you're going to love it. So we are reading The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. Now this is the same author that wrote Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. So let's go ahead and get started. Boys and girls, our main character in this story is Sam. So Sam, you should probably be very excited right now, I would guess. And Sam is just a sweet boy. He's 11 years old, so a little bit older than you. Loves nature, loves his dad. A nice boy. Okay, so let's get started. Chapter 1. Walking back to camp through the swamp, Sam wondered whether to tell his father what he had seen. I know one thing, he said to himself. I'm going back to that little pond again tomorrow. And I'd like to go alone. If I tell my father what I saw today, he will want to go with me. I'm not sure that's a very good idea. Sam was 11. His last name was Beaver. He was strong for his age, and he had black hair and dark eyes like an Indian. Sam walked like an Indian too, putting one foot straight in front of the other and making very little noise. The swamp through which he was traveling was a wild place. There was no trail, and it was boggy underfoot, which made walking difficult. What do you think boggy means? It was boggy underfoot, meaning where he's walking, which made walking difficult. A bog is a waterlogged or water-soaked area, kind of a little bit like a swamp. So imagine that every step he takes, it's almost like walking in mud where his feet are sticking, which is making walking difficult. Every 4 or 5 minutes, Sam took his compass out of his pocket and checked his course to make sure he was headed in a westerly direction. Canada is a big place. Much of it is wilderness. To get lost in the woods and swamps of Western Canada would be a serious matter. As he trudged on, the boy's mind was full of wonder at what he had seen. Not many people in the world had seen the nest of a trumpeter swan. Sam had found one on a lonely pond on this day in spring. He had seen the 2 great white birds with their long white necks and black bills. Nothing he had ever seen before in all his life had made him feel quite the way he felt on that little pond in the presence of those 2 enormous swans. They were so much bigger than any birds he had ever seen before. The nest was big, too, a mound of sticks and grasses. The female was sitting on eggs. The male glided slowly back and forth, guarding her. When Sam reached camp, tired and hungry, he found his father frying a couple of fish for lunch. "Where have you been?" asked Mr. Beaver. "Exploring," said Sam. "I walked over to a pond about 1.5 miles from here. It's the one we can see from the air when we're coming in. It isn't much of a place, nowhere as big as the lake we're on." "Did you see anything over there?" asked his father. "Well," said Sam, "it's a swampy pond with a lot of reeds and cattails." Boys and girls, do you know what reeds and cattails are? I bet you do. If you looked them up in online, with your mom and dad's permission, you would probably know. Cattail is like that brown thing at the top and then a little pointy thing, and it grows right near streams and rivers and stuff like that. I don't think it would be good for any fishing. It's hard to get to. You have to cross a swamp. "See anything?" repeated Mr. Beaver. "I saw a muskrat," said Sam, and a few red-winged blackbirds. Mr. Beaver looked up from the wood stove where fish were sizzling in the pan. "Sam," he said, "I know you like to go exploring, but don't forget, these woods and marshes are not like the country around home in Montana. If you ever go to that pond again, be careful you don't get lost. I don't like you crossing swamps. They're treacherous. You could step in a soggy spot and get bogged down, and there wouldn't be anybody to pull you out." Treacherous, boys and girls, what does that mean? Could mean a couple different things maybe put together. Dangerous, difficult to navigate, difficult to walk through, difficult to make it through safely. If we're thinking about our science unit, we could say that a hurricane is a treacherous storm, or a tornado is a treacherous storm. It's dangerous, it's difficult to get through, it's difficult to be safe in, things like that. "I'll be careful," said Sam. He knew perfectly well that he would be going back to that pond where the swans were, and he had no intention of getting lost in the woods. He felt relieved that he had not told his father about seeing the swans, but he felt queer about it too. Sam was not a sly boy. Sly would mean sneaky. But he was odd in one respect. He liked to keep things to himself, and he liked being alone, particularly when he was in the woods. He enjoyed the life on his father's cattle ranch in Sweetgrass country in Montana. He loved his mother. He loved Duke, his cow pony. He loved riding the range. He loved watching guests who came to board at the Beavers' ranch every summer. But the thing he enjoyed most in life was these camping trips in Canada with his father. Mrs. Beaver didn't care for the woods, so she seldom went along. It was usually just Sam and Mr. Beaver. They would motor to the border and cross into Canada. There, Mr. Beaver would hire a bush pilot to fly them to the lake where his camp was, for a few days of fishing and loafing and exploring. Mr. Beaver did most of the fishing and loafing. Sam did the exploring. And then the pilot would return to take them out. His name was Shorty. They would hear the sound of his motor and run out and wave and watch him glide down onto the lake and taxi his plane to the dock. These were the pleasantest days of Sam's life. These days in the woods, far, far from everywhere. No automobiles, no roads, no people, no noise, no school, no homework, no problems, except the problem of getting lost. And of course, the problem of what to be when he grew up. Every boy has that problem. After supper that evening, Sam and his father sat for a while on the porch. Sam was reading a bird book. "Pop," said Sam, "do you think we'll be coming back to camp again about a month from now? I mean, in about 35 days or something like that?" "I guess so," replied Mr. Beaver. "I certainly hope so. But why 35 days? What's so special about 35 days? "Oh, nothing," said Sam. "I just thought it might be very nice around here in 35 days. "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of," said Mr. Beaver. "It's nice here all the time." Sam went indoors. He knew a lot about birds, and he knew it would take a swan about 35 days to hatch her eggs. He hoped he could be at the pond to see the young ones when they came out of the eggs. Sam kept a diary, a day book about his life. It was just a cheap notebook that was always by his bed. Every night before he turned in, he would write in the book. He wrote about things he had done, things he had seen, thoughts he had had. Sometimes he drew a picture. He always ended by asking himself a question so he would have something to think about while falling asleep. So smart, isn't that, boys and girls? You should try that. On the day he found the swan's nest, this is what he wrote in his diary. "I saw a pair of trumpeter swans today on a small pond east of camp. The female has a nest with eggs in it. I saw 3, but I'm going to put 4 in the picture. I think she was laying another one." This is the greatest discovery I've ever made in my entire life. I did not tell Pop. My bird book says baby swans are called cygnets. I'm going back tomorrow to visit the great swans again. I heard a fox bark today. Why does a fox bark? Is it because it's mad or worried or hungry? Or because he's sending a message to another fox? Why does a fox bark? Sam closed his notebook, undressed, crawled into his bunk, and lay there with his eyes closed, wondering why a fox barks. A few minutes later, he was asleep. Boys and girls, I am going to send you some YouTube videos. First of all, some information about swans. And second of all, I don't know if you've ever heard a fox bark. I don't know if I'd call it a bark. It is the most unusual sound. At our house, as you can tell, we have woods behind us, and 2 summers ago we had a fox, and we would hear this sound in the middle of the night. Because we have the woods behind us, on a summer night, if our windows are open, we'll frequently hear like cats fighting. And you know, that's not a great sound to wake up to in the middle of the night. You know, their loud, mean meows and everything. So anyways, we started hearing this sound. And I said to Mr. Mandeville, is that cats? Because it didn't sound like cats. It's just this loud, yelpy sound. And imagine it, when I send it to you for you to hear it, imagine it waking you up in the middle of the night every night. It got really annoying. That fox seems to be gone, and we have a lot of, you know, you've seen the deer around here. We have fawns, you know, almost every spring, and we really worry about our fawns. And the whole neighborhood loves all these deer. So we're not sure if maybe somebody caught the fox and then took it, you know, to a field far away and let it go to get rid of it, but we haven't heard it. So anyways, I want you to hear that sound though. It's quite a sound. And if a fox would go after a baby deer, do you suppose perhaps the reason Sam is worried about the fox is because he might go after baby cygnets or even the eggs? So anyways, I want you to hear that sound though. It's a little crazy. So I'll send you those, and you enjoy your day.